Hey guys, I'm Viper and welcome to a brand new video, and today I'm giving my thoughts on Dirt Rally, a brand new rallying game that was released just about a week ago, which was developed and created by Codemasters. Now obviously it's been on the PC for about a year-ish. It's been in early access I think, or beta, I can't remember, but since about May last year. And obviously it's developed quite well, and obviously only just recently we've managed to get the full version of the game actually being released. Any PC players that have had access to the early access sort of things, they've obviously got the features added in, but anyone that's been on the consoles obviously been waiting for this game for a while. You'll probably be able to see in the background now, I've got quite a bit of rallying footage in the background from the game obviously, so there's rallycross I think. I might put Pikes Peak in here, I'm not sure, but there'll probably be some, it might be somewhere, but who knows. Anyway, without further ado, let's get into it. Obviously, just like the Automobile Ballista one that I did with my thoughts on Automobile Ballista, it'll kind of work the same way. I'll talk about the positives and the negatives and then improvements, but obviously those will come from, the negatives. Anyway, let's start with the positives about the game. First things first, the graphics on the game, it goes without saying, new gen game. What do people expect? It's going to have awesome graphics, which it does. The cars don't look crap or anything like that. You can tell even the smallest details in the cockpit with all the lights lighting up and everything on the dashboards and everything in cockpit view, as well as on the outside with all the glare and the from the sun, as well as the shadows that you get, say, going through a forest like in Sweden or Finland. The shadows certainly provide the aspect of realistic rally driving. The handling, it's very, very accurate. Now, to say the least, it is very difficult to get used to, and believe me, this is kind of split 50-50 between positive and negative. The positive being, it is very accurate, meaning, it's how a rally game should be. It feels more like a simulation game than an actual arcade racer compared to like the Dirt 2 and Dirt 3, where the driving on those games are quite easy. However, the only downside to this handling, even though it's very accurate, it can feel quite heavy when you first start playing the game. If you're using a pad in particular, it can be quite difficult. If you're using a wheel, obviously it'll take time, you'll get used to it, I'm sure. It's a lot easier to get used to it on the wheel than it will be on the pad. The only solution that I know so far, and a few people have mentioned already, is that if you are using a pad, you can adjust, I think it's a steering feedback, you adjust that from 100% to about 20-25%, and it should feel fine. The car will be a bit more responsive. You'll be able to kind of play it a bit like Dirt 3, it'll feel a bit more arcadey. It'll still feel like a simulation game, don't get me wrong, but like I said, it just depends. The different surfaces that you get within, the actual game itself, where it's gravel, snow, ice, asphalt/tarmac, and all that sort of stuff. It all feels different. You can certainly feel the difference for when you're going from, say, a tarmac road onto a gravel road, because obviously the car will slide more on the corners and you'll have more grip on the tarmac road than you would on the gravel, obviously. Also, again, the weather effects, that's definitely one to mention. They are stunning in this game, there's no denying that. But like I said, again, just like the different road surfaces, you are able to feel the difference between a wet track and a dry one. Obviously your braking points will be different. So you can do the same stage in the dry and you'll be like, oh, I know where to brake. Then you'll do it in the wet and you'll go, hang on, I need to brake a bit earlier, just so you can get around the corner, and you also might need to turn in a bit earlier just to get around that one corner, which is great to see because it obviously provides a bit more of a challenge. Like I said, the onboard cameras as well, they're worked to perfection with the close to the windscreen feel that you get. That's one of the cameras. As it actually feels like you're being on TV, as you see it on TV. They usually have the onboard shots where obviously they look at the driver, but then there's other shots where they're looking right in front of the windscreen. Not from a driver's point of view, but right in front of the windscreen sort of view, if you get what I mean. That camera view's in here, which is fantastic. That's something that they've implemented. Mainly, obviously, because it's Dirt Rally, and rally's in the title, obviously it's part of the Dirt franchise, it obviously focuses on the main aspect of rallying, rather than going around the houses with the other game modes. Now it does provide rallycross and hill climb events, which are both fun in their own way. It mainly focuses on rallying, but obviously it puts a little bit, doesn't put as much, I won't say he puts as much effort into Rallycross and Hill Climb events, but they're equally, you know, they have about the equal amount of effort put into them. Don't get me wrong, they all are, well, all 3 game modes, from Rally to Rallycross and Hill Climb events, they're all fantastic and all good fun. But I think Rally is where it's mainly at, which is what they've mainly focused on. Like I said, they've done a fantastic job with the other 2. There's nothing to be ashamed about there. They have done a fantastic job there. Like I said, rallying, like I said, it's the main aspect, and they focused on that quite a bit more, which is good. So there's that. Career mode itself has plenty of hours within it to keep you playing the game again and again. The reason I say this is because I think when you start, you can start in a 60s car. It's kind of one of those games where you work from the bottom upwards. Pretty much how we expect most games to work, especially racing games. You know, you start from the bottom, you work your way up, unless you're F1 2014, of course, where you can pick the big team, or F1 2015. Obviously, that's completely off the point, but you get my drift. You have to start from the bottom and work your way up, which is a nice concept, especially with rallying anyway. You know, previous games you kind of have to do it as well, start with a crap car and move your way up, so to speak. Obviously you have to save up money to buy the car, so there's nothing new there. Same old, it feels sort of old school with that system, because a lot of old racing games used to have you save up money to buy a car. And the best bit about this is that there's no DLC for the game yet, I don't think, or I don't think there will be. At the moment, it's hard to say because obviously the game's only just been released, but at the moment there's no DLC, which is a bonus, so we don't have to spend, you know, extra money on a new track pack or car pack. But things could change, you know, we could end up seeing DLC soon, but who knows? Like I said, we never know. The online mode of the game obviously piles on the options for your daily and your weekly challenges that refresh every day / week. Obviously these are provided by RaceNet, the racing service that Codemasters actually provide, which started off in Grid 2, I think it was, or from 2012, and it obviously built from there. They've obviously they've kept that RaceNet thing going, which is fantastic to see. And like I said, because they've refreshed it, you have the weekly challenge, which is where you have to do a rally with a certain set, you know, with a certain car. Unfortunately, I think you have to own the car, which is a bummer, you know, but there's a couple of events that are on there, like you go on RaceNet challenge, there's a couple of challenges. You have the daily dirt challenge, which is where they give you a car, there's no setup involved, so everyone uses the same car. You only get one chance at it though, so if you mess it up, you know, you can't restart it, there's no turning back the clock, you have to just carry on and finish it, or you can quit and you won't get a chance till the day after, when obviously the challenge will be new. So it's kind of make or break with that challenge. Like I said, the weekly one's a hell of a lot more fun, because even though it kind of puts you on edge with what do you take risks, you know, do you put your foot down going around corners, or do you just look after your car and hang back a little bit and hope that you get through the end of the rally. It's quite interesting. It definitely spices things up a bit more compared to, like I said, the main game modes like Rally, Rallycross and so on. It definitely mixes the whole game up completely. And the other thing I want to mention is the car sounds for each individual car are on point. Like I said this with Automobilista a few weeks back, they did a fantastic job. Unfortunately with the FOM and all that stuff, I won't go into it, but obviously the game got pulled and whatnot. But like Automobilista, how they did their game sounds, like I said, those kind of sounds were on point, because obviously the V10 matched the V10 and so on. The car sounds for this game do actually work, and they are proper. Now I don't mean an MP3 file of a car, they are literally a pure sound of the car. So an Audi Quattro sounds just like it used to back in the 80s. You know, get an Opel Manta, it sounds just like it used to. An old Subaru as well, with its, you know, its growly exhaust that it usually has, you know, things like that. They all sound just like the real things, which is, you know, it's incredible to see. Don't get me wrong, they tried to do this with Dirt 2 and Dirt 3, but it's definitely more noticeable and definitely much, much better this time around with Dirt Rally. That's for damn sure. The cars themselves can be customised. When I say customised, it's more like tuned. Now, there's a few liveries that you can get in the game for each car. We'll get onto that later on, but the cars themselves, like I said, you can tune the car to the way you want it before each stage. Sometimes, like if you're in a rally for example, you can tune your car, but you have to make sure that you've tuned it properly for both stages, because I think sometimes it'll put you on 2 to 3 stages. Depends on what sort of thing you're after, but like I said, you can tune the cars, you can save your setups, and you can even post them onto the Steam Workshop if you've got the game on Steam, you know, on PC. I think on Xbox you can probably upload them to an online server, I presume. Same with PlayStation 4. I have no idea because I'm not quite sure, but I presume so. But yeah, that's all the positives for the game. Now, I've only managed to find a few negatives. Now, obviously, I'm being a bit nitpicky, but like I said, for the majority of the game, all I've found is positives because, like I said, the game's amazing for what I played. I've played quite a bit of it recently, so bear with me. So these are a few the negatives that I found. The first one is that if you're a person that it can't be played by the simplest of players, meaning it'll take time to play the game properly. It's a bit like Forza. Now, obviously with Forza you have all your assists turned on when you start, for your first race. If you want to get quick at the game and you actually want to beat the AI fair and square quite easily, or just want to beat the AI in general, then you're going to have to turn the assist off, and it's kind of a steep learning curve from there. With Dirt Rally, it's not as hard as that, turning all the assists off and, all that stuff. However, like I said, because of the handling and how heavy it can be, it can take time to get used to it. It's no game that you can just pick up and play, that's for sure. I've certainly found that out the hard way after not playing it for about 2-3 months. Try and pick it up the other day and it was quite difficult to pick up. Like I said, I've had the game since about May last year when it came out on early access, thanks to a friend, which I'll just quickly mention. Thank you very much for asking me double 4 double 4 for this. Otherwise I won't be able to play the game without it. So there's that. Like I said, the amount of cars that are in each category. Now you're probably looking at 2 to 3 cars, sometimes maybe even 4 or even 5 cars, depending on what category you're in. However, there isn't any, like I said, the 60s and the 70s is only about 3 cars in the 60s and about 3 in the 70s. Personally, I like a bit more choice. Now there is a few cars such as like the old Alfa Romeo cars. I don't mean ones from like the 50s. I mean like ones from like the 80s and 90s when I think Alfa was actually in the rallying scene. And also cars like the Ford Escort WRC, the one that U.R. Kankner used to drive in the late 90s, along with the Toyota Corolla as well. Cars like that, the Mitsubishi Evo 4, things like that. Them cars in particular, cars that really drain. The Peugeot 206 for example as well, car that I drive as well. That car in particular, one Richard Burns obviously famously drove, and Marcus Gronholm and so on. Those sort of cars could need to kind of be implemented in my opinion, because they are missing, and they did signify like a good era of rallying back in the early 2000s. Moving on to liveries, like I said, we mentioned this, we only touched on it briefly before, but there are some liveries missing in my opinion. For example, when you get in the 2010 Ford Focus, I think it is, 2007 Ford Focus, pardon me. The Ford Focus WRC, the one that I believe it was Marco Martin and Marcus Gronholm drove in 2007 or 2006. The one with the big wing. That one, it's missing like the BP Ultimate liveries and things like that. I've noticed like I said, there's been a couple of others as well. For example, the Audi Quattro only has one livery. Rather than having its famous yellow and white one, it only just has the plain white with Audi Quattro Rally on it, which in my opinion, it doesn't really give it much justice. If we could have the official one, then that would be good. Like I said, other cars include I can't remember the name of it now. How's it gone? The Renault Alpine as well, one of the classic liveries for that, I think was a blue and yellow one, or yellow even. And I've not managed to find one for that. Now, like I said, I know it seems like I'm being a bit nitpicky, but these are just bits and nooks and crannies that I found in the game. And the last thing is that the AI, this depends on most people. Now, most people can easily say, oh, well, this is because you're crap at the game, and so on. But personally, even on the easiest difficulty, which is open, by the way, I have found the AI to be completely overpowering. For example, a scenario that I can easily give was the other day when I was playing the game for myself. Obviously the updates have just come out for it. The mini rallycross events, which are new to the game now, obviously it's come out with everyone that's got the console version. But for anyone that's played it in early access, obviously we've only just got it because obviously when the console released, we got all the content that you guys got on the consoles. But basically the mini rallycross event, on career mode in particular, I was just doing career one day, like a few days ago. I was on career mode, I was on the easiest difficulty for the mini rallycross, and the minis just pulled away. Now obviously this could be found down to the fact that I didn't set up the car, but I've tried many different setups and nothing seems to work, and every time the minis were always winning. One guy in particular, I can't remember the guy's AI, but one particular AI just kept winning over and over, and it seemed impossible to catch him. I said I could learn the tracks more, but like I said, that's just one or two. That's just one occasion. There has been other times, like when I was in the 70s championship, for example. I was on the Clubman. Obviously, that's a bit harder. That's one of the other difficulty levels. But like I said, one other thing, the last thing to mention, just going quickly back to the career mode, is that the difficulty is, I say it's not set, but it kind of is a little bit. Basically, you start at open, which is the easiest difficulty, and I think you work your way up to legendary. I think it is all legend difficulty, which is obviously the hardest difficulty, and it's near enough impossible to beat them unless you're very, very quick. And it's one of those things that as the game gets, as you go on through the game, it gets harder. In this case, you start off with open and you go up through the ranks. So open, clubman, professional, I think it is, which is preferred difficulty. I think that's like expert and legend. Similar to the F1 series with how their difficulty system works. But it's like I said, it makes the game more challenging as you progress, and it feels like a proper racing game rather than just you choose a set difficulty. Then that's it, you go through the whole game, it gets higher as you go along, so it provides more challenging, it's more of a challenge. But yeah, I've rambled on for way too much longer than I should have done. But yeah, what are your guys' thoughts? If you've got Dirt Rally, what are your guys' thoughts on it? Is it good? Is it bad? Let me know in the comment section below. If you agree with anything that I've said today, be sure to let me know down in the comment section below. And as always, I've been Vibe Racing, you guys have been awesome watching, and see you guys in the next video. Ta-ra!